Shiraz, thank you so much for joining us at the Chennai Storytelling Festival 2022. Please introduce yourself fully, tell us about your work, and please tell us a story.
So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you here, wherever you are. I am Shiraz Saini. I live in Chandigarh, Punjab, but I am originally from Mumbai, Bombay. I am a Parsi, married to Punjabi. That's where the mixed name comes from. And Shiraz is a city in Iran. And today, strangely, I'm going to tell you a story about a girl called Shiraz. The name of the story is The Girl with the Brave Heart. It's written by a writer called Rita Jahafaruz. She is a Jewish writer. She lived in Iran for many years, but after that moved on to Israel. She is a pop singer, and this is her story. A little more about myself. I have a strange background. I have a master's in French. I used to work with a French company. I used to be a public relations consultant, but I also taught French to children. So teaching came naturally. And as I came to Chandigarh after I got married, I had to find something different to do. I was working in an alternative school. I was doing English language work and also storytelling. But finally, I moved on to become a professional storyteller. Frankly, without any training, without any certification, without any background, just a love and passion for working with children. So I am a storyteller with a school in Chandigarh. I do workshops with libraries and activity centers. And this is the first time, Eric, thank you for the opportunity. I have a chance to tell a story to an adult audience. So here goes, The Girl with the Brave Heart, written by Rita Jahafaruz. Long, long ago, in a little city, Tehran, in Iran, there lived a girl, Shiraz. She lived with her parents and her sister, Munir. For some time, life was really beautiful. They lived together happily. But one day, as her father passed on, life changed completely. The mother called Shiraz and said, Shiraz, now we don't have enough money. We don't have the money to keep a maid in our home. You will have to do everything. That's when her chores began. Cleaning, washing, brushing, looking after everyone. And life was busy. She no longer had the time to play with her friends or do all the things that she loved doing. So one autumn evening, while she sat back after finishing all the chores for the day, she brought out a ball of wool and knitting needles that belonged to her mother. She sat back on the top of the house in a little balcony area and started knitting. It was a very windy evening, and unfortunately, that ball of wool just flew away from her hands. And where did it land? It landed on a rose bush in somebody's courtyard. Poor Shiraz, she stood at the balcony, clinging onto the railing, looking for that ball of wool because that was very, very precious. It was her mother's memory. And as she clung onto the railing, looking for the ball, she saw it stuck in a rose bush. She came running down and decided to follow the path to reach the courtyard. When she reached the courtyard, she saw a very old wooden door with a tiny little window. She brought herself to knock at the door, although a little nervous. And as she knocked at the door, she was praying in her mind, I just hope I get that wool back. After a long time, that tiny little window in the door opened, and her face was stuck at the window. The face was of an old, grizzled woman, long hair, quite filthy, unkempt. Her teeth were dark, dirty, almost unbrushed for days and days. Her fingernails were dirty too, as she was holding that little window. And she said, "I'm so sorry to disturb you, but my ball of wool has fallen in your courtyard. May I have it back, please?" The old woman looked through that tiny window and said, "Okay, come on in, but you'll have to do something for me before you get the wool back." Shiraz nervously nodded her head, and as the woman opened the door, she walked in. She was shocked to find the house was a complete mess. Everything was topsy-turvy. The old lady asked her to come into the kitchen. "Come on in. Look at my mess. I want you to destroy everything that you see. The pots and the pans, the sink, the drain board, everything." And she gave her a hammer. What do you think Shiraz did? Did she follow the lady's instructions? No, not at all. She picked up the hammer, put it aside, and then decided to clean up the kitchen. She cleaned the pots and pans. She put everything in place. She wiped and mopped the kitchen. She put everything back in place and then decided, why don't I make some soup for the old lady? I'm sure she is hungry. She cooked a vegetable soup. She found some onions and potatoes in the cupboard and made the soup ready for the old lady. When the old lady walked in, she said, "I have tidied up your kitchen." The lady did not say a word. She just looked around and walked away and said, "Come into the garden." When she went into the garden, it was a complete mess. There were weeds and brambles overgrown all over. And she gave her a pair of shears and said, "Destroy everything in this garden." What did Shiraz do? She picked up the shears and started chopping a few of those brambles. And then she decided, these beautiful flowers, they need water. She found a little rock, and from under the rock, she heard the sound of a little gurgling. Water was flowing there. She very gently moved the rock away, and the water started flowing. The flowing water helped the plants to get a little green, and soon the garden was all tidied up. Did she follow the old woman's instructions? No. When the old lady walked in, she says, "I have done what you asked me to. I have tidied up your garden." The old lady did not say a word and moved on. And then she said, "Here, take this pair of scissors, come into my bedroom and chop my hair off." What did Shiraz do? She took the scissors. She just chopped the ends a little bit. Then she washed the old lady's hair, dried it, and that old lady's hair was now silver, gleaming, shining. It was hanging on her thin back, and Shiraz braided her hair and tied it up and put it into a little bun. She says, "I have finished what you asked me to." So the old lady said, "Yeah, Shiraz, this is your ball of wool. Go back, but go back through the back gate. And when you go back through the back gate, you will find 2 pools of water, one clean and one dark. Dip into each pool 3 times, dive in, bathe, and then go back home." Shiraz took the ball of wool, thanked the old lady, and came out through the back gate. She dipped herself into the pool of clear water 3 times. Then she dipped herself into the pool of dark water 3 times and walked back home. As she reached home and she knocked at the door, her sister Munir stood there. Said, "Who are you? What do you want?" And Shiraz said, "Why are you making fun of me? Why are you teasing me? It's me, Shiraz. Take me in. I know I'm running late and Mom is going to be really upset and angry. Let me come in." And Munir said, "Shiraz, you are Shiraz? Don't be crazy. You are so beautiful, amazingly gorgeous. You are not Shiraz." And her mother came running from behind and said, "Who's that at the door?" And Munir said, "Look at this girl. She's so beautiful. She says she's Shiraz." And Shiraz said, "Mother, believe me, it's me." And the mother said, "Come on in. How did you turn out to be so beautiful? What is the secret behind this gorgeous beauty?" And Shiraz told them the whole story. The mother said, "Munir, I want you to be just like Shiraz." So she ran to the market, picked up different kinds of wool, and now decided that Munir was going to do what Shiraz went and did at the old lady's house. So she threw the balls of wool. One landed in a pot of porridge. One landed near a soccer ball that a boy was playing. One landed in the branches of the tree. And finally, the ball of wool landed on that rose bush in that particular courtyard. And she said, "Munir, run, do whatever the old lady asks you to do, and don't be rude and don't be lazy. Follow all the instructions." So Munir, just like Shiraz, ran and reached the courtyard, saw that wooden door, and stood outside. She knocked at the door impatiently. After a few minutes, that little window in the door opened up, and an old lady was standing there. The same old lady with that old wizened face, dirty hair, long curved nails. She said, "May I come in? I've lost my ball of wool. May I have it back, please?" She spoke in a rude, impatient voice. The old lady said, "Okay, come on in, but you'll have to do something for me before you get the ball back." She opened the door and allowed her in. It was that same dirty, filthy, topsy-turvy house. She was first taken into the kitchen and given the hammer. "Break everything that you see here, the pots and the pans, the sink, the drain board, everything." What do you think Munir did? She picked up the hammer and she did exactly as the lady asked. She banged the pots and pans, she broke them, she broke the sink, the drain board, and it was an even worse mess. She said, "What next?" And the old lady said, Come into my garden." The garden was full of weeds and brambles. Everything was unkempt. She gave her a pair of shears. "Go, destroy everything that you see here in my garden. I don't want anything here." What did Munir do? Picked up the shears and went cut, 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 cut. She cut everything down and destroyed the garden. The old lady came, saw that and said, "Well, one last task. Here, come into my bedroom. Take these scissors and chop my hair off." Munir took the scissors and went cut, 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 cut. And the old lady's hair was cut off in such a way, it was all up and down. And when she looked at her face in the mirror, and then she said, "Now what? May I have my ball of wool back? And what about those 2 pools of water?" So the old lady said, "Yes, there are 2 pools of water right outside. Take the back gate, walk through them, dip yourself in the pool of clear water 3 times, dive into the pool of dirty water 3 times, and then go back home." Munir was so excited about jumping into that pool of water that she even forgot to take the ball. She ran. She jumped into the clear water, dipped herself 3 times. She jumped into the pool of dark water and stayed there. And thinking that maybe if I stay on longer, I can be even more beautiful than Shiraz, because she thought that that was the magic. The water was the one that created beautiful Shiraz. And as she stepped up finally and walked back home, she stood at her own front door. And the mother was waiting. The mother looked at her and said, "What are you doing here, little beggar girl? Go away. I'm waiting for my daughter." She said, "Mother, what are you saying? I'm Munir, your daughter. I'm not a beggar girl." I said, "Munir, you, look at you. Your hair is all, it looks like hay. And your eyes are so dark, it looks mean. That's not you, Munir. What happened? What did you do? Did you not follow the old lady's instructions?" And Shiraz came running from inside and said, the mother said, "Shiraz, what did you not tell us about what the old woman asked you to do? Why is Munir looking the way she is?" She said, "I did everything. I told you everything. I did what the lady asked me to do, but I listened to her heart." What do you mean, listen to her heart? And as time went by and Shiraz and Munir grew up as people, people found that hidden garden, the 2 pools of water, and discovered the old lady's magic. Both the dark pool and the clear pool of water, they have the same water. They don't change the people who dip into them. They just make them look the way they feel on the inside. And the girl with brave heart, she understood that people who are sad on the inside, they don't always ask for what they really, really need. That's my story. Thank you. So this is a tale like a Cinderella fairy tale, like Mother Hilda's fairy tale from the Brothers Grimm, but a very unusual twist at the end. And I really connected with this story, not just because of the thoughts and the feelings in it, but also because it comes from Tehran, and it's strange that the girl in the story is Shiraz, just like me. Thank you for listening, everyone. And thank you, Eric, for the opportunity.
Anyone, any thoughts?
This is Angela. I don't have my, it's dark in here. I wanted to ask again, where is the story from?
It's from Tehran. It's from Tehran in Iran. It's written by an Israeli writer, Rita Jahan-Ferouz. She was born in Iran, and then she moved on to Israel.
It reminds me of, there's stories, there's a whole string of stories. The tale type is one's stories of greed and compassion. That path where someone, the first person goes and has success, and then the second goes just to get what the other had.
Yes.
And then, yeah, that was a new one for me. That's lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I was thinking of there's another version that I use that I like very much in the Mother Holly story.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was very nice to hear this version of yours. But then I also think a lot of today, these stories somehow I mean, it's an education also for, I mean, also not for the children to be slaves, because I think somehow in the culture where I have grown up, we have started to curl our children a little bit too much. So sometimes these stories also are good of how to learn. It's good. It's also good for you to know how to take care of a garden, a kitchen, or these things. Just like my mother-in-law, she always told me, oh, you should let the child do this, you should do this. No, let her play, let them play, and they can do, I will do that now. But some, of course, I've taught them, but I also feel that, oh, maybe I should have listened a little bit more to my mother-in-law.
Thank you.
Because children, when they are young, they like to do things and to do things in the right thing. So it's a good way of, unless you don't moralize on it, but the way you taught it with a heart way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you remind us the name of the story again, please?
Yes, The Girl with the Brave Heart.
Thank you.
As you were telling, I really felt that you're fond of this story. You enjoy it.
Well, this is the first time I read it. I found it, I read it, and this is the first time that I'm sharing it.
Mm-hmm.
And let me share with everyone, this is the first time that I'm doing a story with an adult audience. So
Yes.
I told Eric that I'm really, really nervous, but I think when you start telling, then you have to forget who is in front of you. Whether it's a child or an adult, it doesn't really matter. You're telling a story, that's it. Thank you, Eric, for the opportunity. Really loved it.
Great. Thank you very much.